right, we're good. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, before I get started, I want to walk through how I got to where I am right now, as far as set up for competition. So, some of you already kind of looked at my cart. On here I have my menu in bold, so it's easy for me to read, and I wrote down each component and what ingredients go in it. So now you're actually going to need to have a judge's packet for the judges, those that are going to be competing. So you have to have all your recipes done and a photo on the front page. This is essentially going to be my first practice. I'm not competing, but I wanted to show you like what it would look like on your first practice. So I just kind of wrote down the dish, which is going to be pan-seared chicken breast, braised thigh, vol au vent, root vegetable puree, because I didn't know what I was going to have, but it's celery root, stewed artichokes, glazed vegetables, and sherry sauce. So that's just kind of what I wrote down, what I planned on doing. So then I wrote out each component. Chicken breast, what do I expect to be on there? Chicken thigh, like what ingredients do I need? It helps me so when I'm working, I can reference it, but after practicing, you shouldn't have to reference it. But really, it helps you with your setup and building everything, because when you get in the kitchen, you don't want it to be running around grabbing stuff, okay? And then it goes through the list. And then I wrote a timeline, so I like to have a timer on my station. The judges are always going to go by the live clock. But when they say go ahead and start, I already have it set for an hour and 10 minutes because that's your total time for cooking plus plating. So when they say start, I hit the start. So I always can reference this. I don't have to worry about finding the clock in the kitchen. Here it's easy because we have a good view. But sometimes you have to like bend or stoop around to find the clock. So I just kind of have an idea of what my skill set is as far as timing. So I built this timeline based on what I believe I can do. And I try to be a little lenient, so if things go wrong or I have to go get something, or you're in a foreign kitchen, you don't usually get to practice in the kitchen you compete in. It builds a little bit of time as a buffer, so if you run behind, you're actually on track. So like it says 1:10, hour 10 is begin, and then 0 is time's up. So I like to make sure this matches whatever my timer says, so I don't have to think about it, where I'm at in my schedule. And again, like after you practice, you're probably going to change the schedule up. Like this probably isn't permanent the first time. Take notes. What did you move around? If you have somebody watching you, they could be taking notes and looking for organization, sanitation. And then I like to label all my equipment. So like this is the pan I'm going to use for my sauce. I wrote sauce on it, okay? Because you want to have a master list of all your equipment. You don't want to bring more than you need, but you don't want to be running around again. So if you bring a cart that's got enough stuff for 5 courses, the judges are going to question, like, did you really need all that stuff? It's okay to have a couple extra little like food pans and stuff, but you don't want to have the whole kitchen on here. And knowing that we're going to have multiple competitors running at the same time, you can't take a ton of stuff. So trying to think, like last night I was thinking about, how many pans do I need? What are the steps that I'm going to be doing? I kind of like walked through the whole process in my head and tried to label everything out from like, this is my pan for chicken breasts to whatever. So that's kind of what you want to do in preparation before your first practice run. I know you're working on recipes now, but have an idea of what you need and try and have everything here. And you can see, like, I have zip-tied little stuff on the side of my cart. You don't really have to. I mean, you got a full cart plus all this to work with. I just like being able to see my timer and not have it on the table, because you want to have as little on your table as possible is really the goal. And then I have my little glove holder here, but really you could have a little baggie of gloves just tied to the side of this, because it's not like I'm going to need a whole box of gloves, okay? And then on this side I got hooks for like pots and pans. So this area you want to keep as clean and clear as possible. The stove, you can, I don't want to say pile up a little bit more, but you can have more stuff on the stove, because as long as it's all neat and tidy, you can have more things over here. They're not as concerned about that because you have to work from things, right? And then underneath you can have a bus tub. That's going to be my dirty pan bus tub. And then over here you can't see, but I have a compost and waste container that'll be over here, because you can't throw anything away until the judges say you can't. Because they want to see what kind of waste you're producing, and like, okay, what's compost and what's garbage. So this will be gloves, string, stuff like that. They want to see, like, are you using everything? And just be mindful, like, if you don't need an entire whatever vegetable, then like this is my baggie for the chicken bits I don't need, and I already have it labeled and dated, because they want to see, like, are you working like you kind of do in a restaurant? Like, if you take half a carrot, you're just going to throw half a carrot in your compost bin because you don't need it. No, you're going to save it. So you can even have little baggies already labeled for like those scraps or those ends that in a real kitchen, or like not a real kitchen, but in a kitchen could be used again. Those are the things that they're going to be looking for. And don't mix everything together because, like, okay, maybe it's carrot, onion, and celery scraps. Yeah, you can mix that together for stock. But are you going to mix like bell pepper parts and parsley stems and half a rutabaga? Probably not. You're not going to have to go fish that out. So have it like separate. And a couple of notes for pastry and for savory. You can have all your ingredients measured out. For savory, your herbs, garlic, and shallots can already be chopped. So that's a huge advantage. You don't have to mess with that. Your vegetables can be washed and peeled, but not cut or shaped in any form. So like I've got my onion already peeled, but see how it's a whole onion. You can't have like a chunk. So like I probably don't need this whole onion, so I'll put the other half back in the bag and just save it for later. Carrot, a whole carrot peeled. So that'll save you time and potentially compost pileup. And then what I like to do is, this is my little compost bin, so I don't have this big bucket on my table. I keep a little one because again, I'm only cooking for a little bit. And then if this gets full, I just dump it in my little compost down here and put it back. So I have a small working area, but it doesn't take up a lot of real estate on the table. So I've got my chicken obviously stored on the bottom over there, and then I'm going to be using my shelves and everything underneath or on the cart. Like you can keep a cart the entire competition if you want. They're fine with that. Just make sure it looks organized and it doesn't like you're not just shoving stuff everywhere. So, does anybody have any questions before I begin with the timer? No? So like I said, this is going to be my first run through. So I feel pretty good about getting done on time, but we will see. This is a variation of a dish I have done before, but it's not exactly the same. And as you do, you're going to kind of find things that you want to change, and that's fine. The main thing is you want to get done on time and everything executed to a high level. So it doesn't have to be a really overly complicated dish, especially for student, but you want to make sure every component is done really well. Normally for professional, I have to do 4 portions, but not to confuse you, I'm going to be doing it as if I'm a student, which is 2. So that's why I only have 2 plates. But like professionals have to do 4 in the same time frame. So that's what makes it a little bit more challenging. So I might have more product than I need because I'm used to doing this before. So, yes?
Your plating set on your shelf too, you don't have to, obviously you don't have to.
Yeah, like your plates, like you want to have every tool you need, spatula, spoon, everything on here or wherever in your station. You can see like I have a little bain marie with my cooking spoons, I've got my butter, I've got my little oil bottles, and that can all be done before you come that day. So your 15-minute setup window, just to clarify that, you walk in, I already sanitized and cleaned my table, so that's step 1. Always do that first because they're going to watch for that. Wash your hands when you get in the kitchen. Then you can set up your equipment any way you want. You can fill a pot with water. Some judges will let you bring it to a boil, some won't. So the best thing is ask, hey chef, can I boil water during my setup time? You just ask them, and then they'll tell you, yes, they'll say yes or no. But even if they say no, you can put water in your pot, and now it's waiting. Check your oven, make sure your oven's on. So I already turned my oven on. I put a pan in the oven because I need a hot pan early on in the process. So I stage that. And just kind of get yourself set up. I got my blender down there. And then let's say it takes you 8 minutes to set up, and now you just wait. You can even put your chicken on your board. You can't cut anything, but you can even, like if chicken's the first thing you're doing, you can even have your chicken ready on your board, knife out, just waiting. And then when they say go, you can hit your timer and then start. So you could do pretty much anything but cooking in your setup window that you want. And it's a good time to get ice if you need ice. Because again, you don't want to have to get ice in the middle. Like, I got a Blanch and Shock, so I got a little bit of ice. So I'm already ready to go. I don't want to have to really leave this quadrant. The only time I'm going to try to is my chicken board. I don't want to put that back on my cart, so that I'll run right over there and probably with my boning knife and just take it over there, because we'll have a day of competition. We'll have a dishwasher that will wash stuff, and you just say, hey, this is my knife. Can you make sure I get it back, but the board belongs to the school? And then that way they might come over and be like, chef, where do you want it? I'll just put it on my cart. You know what I mean? And that way I can sanitize this whole area, and I'm not dealing with a chicken knife and boards floating around. Otherwise, I'll just put all my dirties underneath here. So I don't know how much talking I'll be able to do during this, because I'm going to be trying to go like full speed and doing what I do. I've never demoed at a fast, like a faster pace. I usually slow it down so you guys can see all the steps. But if you have questions, just ask me and I'll do my best to answer it. Because sometimes when you're competing, judges will talk to you. Not to throw you off your game, but they might just ask, hey, I'm curious, why did you decide to do this? You know, but they don't bug you too much. Maybe in the setup time they'll ask you. I've had that happen where they've asked me questions while I was setting up, like, hey, tell me about your menu. Usually while you're competing, they don't ask too much. Or they might say, hey, is this for that? What's this for? That kind of thing. So, all right, I'm going to wash my hands real quick because that's going to be part of my setup. So you have 1 hour of cooking and 10 minutes of plating, unless you're doing SP2, it's more cooking time. You can cook into that plate up window. The main thing is you have an hour and 10 minutes total. So however that works for you, and go. All right, so first thing we do is break down my chicken. So I need 2 thighs and 1 breast for my recipe. So those that have been in my class before, it's going to look familiar to you, how I break it down. That's my little baggie of chicken parts for that I'm not going to use in stock. Okay. So this is where I want to be a little bit more mindful doing the breast. Now this is a small chicken, so I might cook 2 breasts, because originally I was only going to do 1. Usually the chickens are a little bit bigger, but because this is smaller, I'll probably just cook both. Okay. So I'm cutting these up a little bit smaller, these chicken bones, so when I caramelize these in the oven, I'll get more surface area and therefore more flavor in the roasting process. Okay. Now I didn't bring my cleaver, but like I have a cleaver I usually do this with, but I didn't bring it, so I'll make do with that. So I'm just trimming this up. So I gave myself to 105 to have the chicken fabricated, and I'm at 108 right now. So just to give you an idea of timing of where I'm at. Okay. So I have 2 chicken breasts, got my bones and scraps, got my thighs, and then these are the bits that I don't need. Put this back underneath. Oh, thank you, Chef. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. So this is the last time that I'm really going to contact the raw chicken, is now. So I'm going to clean up, sanitize, put everything away, and just try to use utensils moving forward with the chicken, or I could use a gloved hand, you know, and do it that way. But I'm going to try and just use utensils, so I don't have to mess with it. Thank you, Chef. So, like this little guy, I just put back on the ice. So what I usually like to do is season my chicken now, so that way I don't have to mess with it later. So it's ready for the cooking process. So these are the bones. I got a little bit of oil I'm going to put on them. Okay. And in the oven, I've got a saute pan I was heating up. So it should be nice and hot. So now those will start to caramelize while I'm doing other things. I don't have to stand over there and watch it on the stove. Just going to lightly season these with salt and pepper. And then I'm going to put these on the ice underneath, so they're out of the way and just waiting to be cooked later. Now the the thighs I'm going to cook early because I want to braise those, and then the breast's going to be pan-seared at the end. So now we're going to wash down and sanitize. So we're at 105, and here it said I had everything iced, bagged, and ready to go. So I'm right on track. So even though a chicken takes me less than a minute to break down, you got to think about, you got to stop, clean, sanitize, wash your hands. So there's other things in there that are part of that process. So you don't want to just think about, oh, it takes me 2 minutes to break down the chicken. You need a few more minutes to properly clean, sanitize the work area. So now I have a different little mat and a new cutting board. And see, everything's all lined up, so I'm ready to go for the next step. So I'm going to start braising here pretty soon, because that braise I'm going to want to get, it's going to take time in the oven, right? So I'm going to start the braise. I'm going to start cutting some mirepoix for that. So I need mirepoix for a couple different items. I need some for my braise, and I need some for my stewed artichokes. The nice thing is I can have shallots already cut, so there's one item there. And honestly, to help with speed, I would take these out of the baggie beforehand, and then I'll wait on that. So what I like to do is I'm going to use a nice knife cut for my vegetable. I'll do like a nice batonnet-ish of carrot as a vegetable item. So then all my scrap, like all my round off cuts, are going to go in my mirepoix for the braise, because that doesn't really matter as much, right? So now I have my batonnet for my actual vegetable, so I can put that away. Just tuck that underneath. And then this is just going to be for my mirepoix, so I'm just kind of chopping this up. And you want to go kind of small so you can extract that flavor in a short period of time, because we don't have a lot of time to really develop flavor. So while I'm doing that, I know I want to get my braise going. So I'm preheating my braise pot. I'm going to kind of keep an eye on it, let that heat up. And then using a bench scraper is really, really important. We're going to look at that. Using your knife to kind of scoop things up, or using a bench scraper. So you would use tongs, but I just have these little guys. So I'm starting to get some color on the braised side. And one thing to note when you are competing and you're writing a menu, you need to make sure you live up to whatever you say on the menu, okay? So if you say braise, they're going to be looking that you're following the proper technique for braise. You're not just boiling everything together. If you say whatever you say, just do that. So you're better off not using fancy words that you're not going to live up to than doing that. So even like sauce work, if you use a traditional name sauce, they're going to be looking for that, to use all those right ingredients, or you just kind of faking it. So you're better off to do it the other way. So, like when I've done lobster in competition, sauce Americaine is a traditional lobster sauce, but it requires the liver to be used. That's one of the requirements of the traditional sauce. So what I do is, I don't call it that. I just say a lobster reduction, or lobster brandy cream sauce, or whatever it is that you want to call it. That is totally fine. Same thing, like I've seen chefs say risotto, but they make it with barley and it says barley risotto. That's not technically right. You could say barley in the style of risotto, or risotto style barley, because risotto is a cooking method, but also you have to use a short grain rice. So, all right, so I got my mirepoix. It's 1 hour in, and I was supposed to have mirepoix cut for braised artichokes, and then seared chicken is next, which I've already started. So I'm actually a little half a step ahead, so I'll take that. Because a good braised chicken thigh takes about 45 minutes, so I know that, so I want to make sure I give myself enough time to make that happen, okay? All right, next I'm going to start my puree. So I like doing the puree because it's really easy to do. You don't have to worry about knife cuts, and you can just get it on the stove. So this is celery root, so I'm making a celery root puree. So for that, I'm going to need my puree pot, which is labeled right here. And so when I make a celery root puree, I like to start with a healthy little scoop of butter and some shallot. And I like to just let that sweat. I don't want any color. I just want the flavor of the shallot to come out in the butter. So I'll get that started just on like a low heat. I'll start it with salt to pull moisture out of the shallot so we start to sweat that a little bit quicker. So you can see I got a nice color on the chicken thighs. Give these a turn. Got my blanching water ready. Okay. And with the celery, we're just going to do a big chop on this because we don't really need it to look pretty. We're just going to blend it all up. And I don't want to make it too big because I don't want this to take too long to cook. Anybody have any questions so far?
If you're doing your chicken, and say you're using like one breast,
Yeah.
2 drums, you still have to cut the 8 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to break it down fully because you're not going to leave legs on a chicken and throw it back in the cooler, right?
Yeah.
So you saw, like, I broke down the wings, I threw it in that little baggie. Like, I'm not using them. Yeah, you can throw them in your sauce for more flavor, but, like, if my chef saw me throwing chicken wings in the stock pot, he'd kill me, right? What? I can sell this at the bar. What are you doing? So, like, that's why I didn't do that. But, like, I've seen chefs do that in competition. Now, whether they get called out by the judges, I don't know. Now, wing tips, yeah, like, I probably should have chopped the wing tips off and thrown it in my stock, my sauce that I'm going to be using. So I have stock, because you can bring stock with you. But stock in its own, as you know, doesn't have enough flavor for a sauce. So I'm going to use the bones to reinforce the flavor of the stock. So, man, that stuff's quick. So my butter browned a little bit, but I'm just going to roll with it. And so that's just a mental note for me. Like, I got to watch that a little bit more closely. So it's going to be a brown butter celery puree, which is okay. It's all good. It's another element. It's got a little nutty flavor. A little salt. And then since it's a white puree, it's white pepper. I know there's some people that hate white pepper, but I'm okay with it. So I got my thighs nicely browned on both sides. Now I'm putting it back in this little pan. It's still raw, so it's not a contamination issue because it's going to get cooked, right? But be careful that you don't, like, as soon as I'm done with it, I'm getting rid of it, so I'm going to put my cooked chicken breast in there. So, adding my mirepoix because I want to caramelize that. But I want to save some for when I do my artichokes. So you can see, like, doing something like this, it's not you're staring at the stove the whole time, you're standing at this, like, you're kind of managing your time because certain things, at least in my menu, require a lead-up cook time. It's not all a la minute, so I need to get things going, and I plan my menu out in a way which allows me to do that. So I'm adding just a little more oil because it's sticking a little bit, and then I will scrape the bottom and caramelize these vegetables because I want to get that nice roasted flavor in the thighs. And then I have some heavy cream from my puree. And one thing you gotta think about is, like, you're gonna be bending and stooping a lot, and, like, you're gonna get tired. So that's why I put my sanding buckets way up here, because I know I'm gonna use those a lot. I don't want to have to go like this every 5 seconds, and I'll be worn out. So just one of the things to think about, but make sure underneath your sanding bucket there's nothing, no food underneath. All right, so I got my puree working. I got that working. My bones are working. Nice skills for vegetables and artichokes. So I'm supposed to be doing artichokes at the 35-minute mark. So right now I'm 20 minutes ahead. So I can take time and make sure that the steps I'm working on now, I'm doing well. Like I said, this is part of that practice session. Like, you don't know what you're going to do until you do it. So I'm going to take the opportunity and blanch my carrots now while I've got some minutes to spare. Because, as you know, I could blanch and shock those and just have those ready to go. Okay. And so you even got to think about that. Like, I have a slotted spoon to pull my carrots out. You don't want to have to go run for something. So try to think of every little step along the process. And the nice thing, too, is having this timer running. If you know you blanch your carrots for 2 minutes, I can go, okay, 53, it was 54 minutes when I dropped them. I don't even need to check it until 52. So you can use this countdown as a little, timer you can use. So you're not really setting timers like on your phone or anything like that. So we're starting to get a little bit of caramelization on the vegetables. I'm going to let this go a little bit longer, and I'm going to deglaze with sherry wine. So my puree is starting to come up to a nice simmer. We'll let that cook. And then I guess let me check on my bones. So where they had contact with the pan, we're starting to get that caramelization, and all that fond is what's going to build our sauce. So that's why you want to use those bones and do whatever you can with them. Not using them to build your sauce is a missed opportunity, because it's just going to reinforce that chicken flavor that you want. Because ultimately, when a judge goes to try your chicken dish, they want to make sure it's like, wow, chicken. Like, this is flavorful and tastes great. And then all the vegetables are cooked nicely as well. Okay. Okay, I'm going to dump this. So that's all I need for blanching. And what I don't want to do is I don't want these carrots getting like waterlogged. So just a quick blanch and a quick shock. I'm going to tuck this underneath. That's ready for later. All right. I'm going to add some sherry wine to my braise. Not all of it, because I want some for my sauce. Just a little sherry. Scrape the bottom. Get all that beautiful flavor. Chickens go in. Okay, discard this. Sanitize my utensil. So I've got my chicken thighs, I've got my mirepoix. What I don't want to do is have to pull out like peppercorns from the chicken. So these are all the little things that you got to think about and set yourself up. So I got a little piece of cheesecloth, a little bit of peppercorn, 1 bay leaf, put my little thyme sprig in there. I already got my string cut. See, it's like all these little things. You don't want to be messing around with a big old bundle of string. And you don't have to make it look pretty. So I can throw this in there. Okay. Chicken stocks, you come up about halfway up for a braise. You don't actually fully submerge. And now I need my cartouche. So cartouche is a little paper lid. We're going to put that on there. And that just helps it so the liquid doesn't evaporate too quickly. So we'll put that back on. And just get it back up to heat since I put cold stock in it. And as soon as that's up to heat, I'm going to throw it in the oven. I'm going to just let it go for the rest of the cook time. I also made a lid for my puree. So I'm already making a mental note. Puree needs to be in a bigger pot next time. So I'm actually going to switch it real quick. And that's part of the stuff that you're going to learn, like, okay, too small. There we go. Okay. All right, so I see my braise is simmering. This goes in the oven. Puree is working. All right. Begin sauce at the 45-minute mark. It's 47, so I'm right on track. So I'm going to start making my sauce because the longer you can develop that flavor of the sauce, the better it's going to be. So crank it up on high, get it out of there, get it nice and hot. I'm going to add some shallots, some garlic, a little bit of mirepoix to this, and start to caramelize that. Deglaze with sherry, chicken stock, and I'll just let that cook down. And then I have a little bit of cornstarch if I need to tighten it a little bit. But yeah, you can see that it's really going to have a nice caramelization on there. And like I said, just having a pan in the oven ready to go and you can dump it in just makes it so much easier. And tossing a little oil on there will give it better heat, induction, whatever. Heat transfer, better heat transfer, that's the word. All right, so Lauren and Natalie, they get a little sneak peek on fresh artichokes because we're doing that in 2 weeks, but you guys are going to get a little sneak peek on this. You guys are actually, I'll do this, you guys can do the demo that day since you're already going to be masters at it. So I just got some water here. Add some vinegar. Helps to prevent it from browning. Okay. Whenever you're adding high content alcohol, just be careful because it'll go up in flames. So that's why I kind of always pull it away so I don't catch my hat on fire. And you can see, like, this isn't even a sauce, but like the color from the roasting of the bones in the fond, it's already got that nice dark brown jus color. So now you imagine I add chicken stock to that, I add aromatics and then concentrate that, it's going to be delicious. So now these Baileys and peppercorns, I'm straining it, so it doesn't matter. I can just throw it all right in, right? And that's the nice thing. I've got my little cart here. Everything just lined up. Okay. So that's going for my sauce. Puree is working. And you might wonder why I did it in a saute pan, why I have better surface area. So it'll reduce a little bit faster. Because again, we're on the clock. We got 43 minutes. So, all right. Everybody's favorite artichokes. I just like artichokes, so you definitely don't have to do them in competition. I probably recommend you don't, because there's a lot of waste and stuff involved, but I just like them. And when Chef Ky-wai asked me, I'm like, okay, what can I do? Like, so this is a version of a dish I've done before in competition for a gold medal. So I felt pretty confident in being able to come in without practicing in advance and executing it. I know some of my Garmager friends remember this. I know I still make it look easy, but I've dealt with a lot of these artichokes over the years. So this is the time that I need to dump my little compost. If it wasn't for the artichokes, I really need a big one. That's the only thing that really caused me to need a big one. And then just be careful that we get all that thistle off your board. You don't want to contaminate anything else. But again, do a vegetable that you can, that you're comfortable with working with and handling relatively easily. That'll be the key. And I don't know if you noticed, like, I've been trying to keep one knife out at a time. You know, don't have your knives just laying around everywhere, because that's something they're going to look at for safety. So I have this little $17 Amazon knife block. You don't have to have one. Even if you have a half sheet tray with your knives lying down on your cart, that's totally fine. But just don't, like, be working just knives everywhere, because we did have a student do that last semester, and they definitely called him out for it. So I think he had two knives out at a time, like a chef's knife and something else. So, all right, that's all looking good. So I'm just clearing up my artichoke stems. So yeah, think about when you come up with your dish, you want to do have something that can show knife cuts. So like I did the carrot. have something that shows different skill sets. And ideally, if you can handle the chicken in 2 different cooking preparations, if you can in time, like if you feel good about that, that'll give you the best chance to have a high score. The more cooking techniques you can show. So that's why, like, I'm braising the leg, I'm doing something different with the thigh, braising the thigh, and doing something different with the breast, to show that I have that variety of skills and that I want to utilize the whole chicken. A little big for this, but can make it work. So with artichoke stems, I want to get down to that white center because these green lines are really fibrous and not too pleasant. So I'm trying to make sure I clean down to that. Because that's the thing, is in competition, they're going to be looking at, every little detail. Like, even like if you do spinach, did you take the stems off all the spinach before you cooked it? They're going to be looking at that level of detail. So just take your time and, you have to rush, but also take your time and do things right. And if you can't do them in that time frame, then you're not going to, then I would suggest not doing them. Like, if you can't do artichokes in that period of time, then I would definitely not do artichokes. So we're in a good spot. I was supposed to be at 35 minutes, have the artichokes done, and we're at 38 minutes. And then I'm going to make my vol au vent next. So I'm pretty much right on track to complete on time. I gotta clean all this up. So just make sure you're moving with purpose, and you've got to step ahead, because they're going to be watching, obviously, for organization, workflow. Are you doing things in a good order? Are you cutting similar things, multiple times? Like, I cut all my carrot at one time, right? Just get it done. Or are you cutting carrot and then later you're cutting celery, and then later it's like, no, just do it all at once. But, as long as you can. And those are just some of the things that the judges look for. And don't just I know you guys would never do this, but don't just brush stuff on the floor. They'll watch for that. And when you're doing your cutting board, you should really sanitize your table, get a fresh towel, like a fresh dip, then do your cutting board in separate steps. That's something that they look for as a best practice. So now I'm just going to cut my artichoke heart to the size I want. And then I can put that away, and the artichokes will be ready for cooking. So those are ready. All right. Any questions so far? No? Am I doing okay? Is there anything I'm missing? Yeah, it's like, and by practicing in front of people, it's going to help you with even basic things like sanitation, food safety, things that you think you're like spot on with, and not to say that you aren't, but it's really easy to lose track of things. I just realized I missed it. Nicola, could you grab me a piece of parchment paper? See, now that goes in my mental note. I had to go get parchment paper, write it on my paper. So because what you want to do is have it already on the tray, ready to go. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to make a vol au vent, which is like a little puff pastry house for my chicken thighs. Because what I don't want to do is just have my chicken thighs just kind of shredded and sitting there. So I just grabbed this out of the freezer. It was frozen yesterday. So even like for competition, if you know you only need a square this big, just bring a little piece so you don't have all this. I already have my cutters designated. So I need 4 large circles. Okay. I'm going to fill this up nicely, put it back so they can see like, oh, the chef's going to use that again. I'm not just like compost, you know. And I even have like my little egg ready. So it's all those little things. You just want to think through every step. All right, so for vol au vent, you have a base, and you dock the base. Okay. And you brush egg. Okay. Now on my top, it's a donut. And the donut we do not dock. A little more egg. So this is going to go in my little trash. A little piece of puff. And this little, well, I'll put that here for safer later. And even if you can see my little garbage area down there, my dirty pan area, I'm trying to keep that even organized. Like, am I just throwing stuff in there, or is it seem like it's got some semblance of order? Just a tiny bit of salt, pepper, and for fun, I'm going to put a little bit of fresh thyme, just like a little around the rim a little bit. So I'm worried about this paper coming up on me in that oven. So I'll put 2 spoons down. Okay, 31. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to check that. Okay, I'm right on track. It's 30 minutes. It says fire vol au vent in oven, so I'm 1 minute ahead. Next up is check my puree and blend that. So let's take a look at that. Smells fantastic. Then again, like butter, cream, and shallots can't smell bad. That's rather hot. And pardon me if my motion looks off. I don't know about you guys, but my driveway was iced today. So I go out to the truck. I go back in the house. Hey guys, it's all ice. Be careful. I go down my concrete steps and I fall, like Home Alone style, feet out in the air. I somehow land on my knee. I don't know what I did. And then I go back in the house again. I'm like, don't go down the stairs. You'll regret it. So, blender, you notice I've had my blender, but it's not been sitting on my table this entire time. Oh, booby trap. So that's something that I'll see like people do is they know they need a blender, but now we're like 40 minutes in, I'm just now using it. So don't have it just sitting here the whole time. We're going to use it, and we're going to put it back. Okay. So when doing a puree, it's easier to add more cream than take it away once you blend it. So what I like to do is kind of scoop in a lot of the vegetables, try not to make a mess, and reserve some cream back, because then if it's too thick, I could always pour more in. But yeah, if I just dump this whole thing and if my cream was off a little bit, then my puree is going to be way too runny, and I don't want that. So this is shallot, butter, the cellulite is a vegetable, and then heavy cream, salt, pepper, that's it. Like you could throw in a little thyme in here, like and then pull it out before you blend it so it doesn't turn it green. So, a little bit of this. The nice thing is these Vitamixes are so good, I'm not going to need to pass this through like a tammy or anything. I would start it low, let it run for a second. Yeah, I'll be able to just whip this thing on high, and it'll be silky, beautiful, smooth, and I don't have to push it through anything. That's why I got this guy to kind of move things around. That's good. So I'm going to move this over to a little pot. Man. And with purees, it's hard to make a little tiny bit. Like especially for two, you kind of have to make more so the blender can actually do its job. But now this puree is done. It needs seasoning, and it needs some salt and white pepper, but as far as like the luscious, like silky, smooth texture, it's like perfect. So I can take this, back here, do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to season this now 100%. So I don't even have to think about it later. I don't want to forget and then give you guys slightly bland puree. So a little more of this. And the nice thing about having this finished in this pot, I can just set this to the side. And then when I'm getting ready for plate up, I just put it back on the heat for a little bit, and it's ready to go. In this nice little pot, it's not this big, enormous thing in my way. It's about perfect. Just set that in the back. Sauce is working. All right. We're moving along. It's getting close to firing time. So this is for my artichokes. I'm going to get this warming up. So we're doing a stew of artichokes. The traditional dish is artichoke baragul, but I don't want to call it that because what if I didn't do it the way that a master chef or somebody says it is? So I just say stewed artichokes. Again, simplify the language. The menu just has to read nice, but it doesn't have to throw out all this French terminology that you might not actually hit. So, pan heating up. Got my sauce kind of reducing. I'm going to check on my braise here in a second. Yeah, it'll be there. Ooh, my bowl bounce look real nice. We're almost ready. I'm gonna just flip these thighs over a little bit. Let them cook a little bit on the other side. Pop these back in. These are almost done. These are small thighs, so they'll be ready to go. Vol au vent's nearly finished. Sauce is reducing. So you can see, like, I'm trying to, convey that you can do a dish that's got a lot of different components, but you just gotta make sure you execute every component really, really well. And that's the main thing. And if you can't, you have to know your own skill set and know your own ability, because it's far better to do a dish that appears to be simple, but everything is fantastic, delicious, hot, than to do something that's overly complicated, everything's lukewarm, undercooked, all over the place. So just think through that. So for the artichokes, I got my saute pan here. I'm gonna drain off all the liquid from here. So with this dish, I like to get the pan ripping hot so I can get some caramelization on the artichokes. So we got that going. And then basically what I'm gonna do is these carrots are just gonna go in last second because they're cooked, they're blanched already. So I'm gonna add those right before plate up, and then the artichoke, the liquid of the stew, will kind of glaze the carrots with the artichokes, and that'll be my glazed vegetable. And like one thing I didn't, beginning of the semester, we don't have a lot of stuff. Some lightly blanched haricots vert would be really nice in there for some color. So kind of think about that too. We should never add color solely for color, but haricots vert, artichoke, it's both like carrots, it's all springtime, like that flavor all goes well together. So you can add, and the nice thing about haricots vert or green beans is there's no knife skill required, right? Cut the ends off and you're done. So you can show one nice knife cut and everything else could just be natural, like asparagus tips or, morel mushrooms or something where it's like, okay, you show like one, maybe two knife cuts, and even like my brunoise, like if they want to look at my brunoise, like it's not going to be really seen anywhere, but it's real nice. So they can see like, oh, this guy knows how to use a knife. So, but yeah, you can see like that nice dark brown color that's formed from the bones and everything. So this is going to make a delicious sauce. And when the braise is done, I'll pour any braising liquid into that and reduce that down. So I'm going to get that ripping, so that's good. Okay. So smoking hot is exactly what I want. I'm going to step back. Okay. Just because the artichokes are always a little bit wet, so you have the opportunity for a little flare up. So what I want to do is get some caramelization, some color in the artichokes, sear them a little bit. Because artichokes themselves don't have a lot of flavor, so add a little caramelization. Then I'm going to add my mirepoix, white wine, and I'll add a little bit of my stock, my reducing stock to that, and let that simmer until the artichokes are cooked nicely. Here's my little vol au vents. I'm going to let these cool briefly. Okay. I need this. So with these vol au vents, I'm going to cut out the little lid. So I used to do these at a restaurant, and the chef always used to teach me just to push it down. So that's what I did in competition. And the judge, who was a certified master chef, he's like, when you do that, you make it really kind of dense inside. He's like, so you cut the lid out, and now you have a nice little hollow thing. So if you can imagine, my shredded thigh meat's going to go in this little cup. It's just a method of like presentation, which it will keep it from like running everywhere. But I'm not saying you have to do this. Like there's nothing really wrong with having just beautifully braised chicken thigh meat shredded like in a ragu with mushrooms or something as a component. I just know I had the time when I conceptualized this dish, so I figured I might as well do that. And then what I'll do is I'm going to warm these up before I need them, just in the oven slightly. I would just tuck them on my cart. So some white wine. Little stock. Let those artichokes cook. All right, I'm gonna get ready to cook my chicken breast now. So now we're getting close to lunchtime. Things are starting to happen as far as getting close to plate up. Because I got about 8 minutes until my window opens. So this is where I need to finish up my details. I got my thighs back there. I got my sauce. Got my artichokes going. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. So essentially, I'm at the point where I'm finishing up my sauce, I'm about to cook my chicken breast, and we're almost there. So having gloves on is handy because now I can put the raw chicken in, boom, take my gloves off, and I'm good to go. Ooh, that's good. That's really good. So I have my sauce pot, chinois. So I'm trying to be careful not to over-reduce my sauce right now because that's where things can go wrong on you. And I'll season at the very end because if I keep reducing, it'll keep concentrating salt. So that's one of the things I do at the end. But what I am going to do is get my little herbs ready and get ready for plate up. So when we get ready for plate up, we want to clear our workspace and kind of re-sanitize and wash our hands is a good practice. Because plate up is coming. So, like I'm pretty much done cooking. My little compost can go away. I have a new board I'm going to bring out. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. see if the artichokes are done. Pretty close. So I got some caramelization on the chicken. I'm going to add some whole butter to it. Thyme sprig. I've got a shallot. I'll let that kind of cook. All right. We're nearing the finish line, everybody. Let's see, 14 minutes. I got 4 minutes till my window opens. Things are cooking. What's that?
If you finish before the 60 minutes,
I mean, I did, well, so I could start plating in 4 minutes. You have to be done by this time goes down. Like if you think you're going to be done early, then just wait to present, because you want to present in that window. You lose points if you present early. But if you think that the points you're going to lose is less than the quality of the dish deteriorating by waiting, then I would say present early. So it's kind of a gamble, but you want to really ideally present right in that window. So I've got my artichokes are nice. Add a little butter, just a touch, right? So I'm going to let these kind of finish in the oven. Got my artichokes finishing up. I got my sauce, which is nice. I'm going to have it kind of half off the stove. Move my puree back on and make sure that's warm. I'm going to fire my plates in the oven. You always want to make sure you have hot plates. So actually what I'm going to do is put the chicken all the way back on the left and put the plates up here to try and minimize the splatter from the cooking. Another trick you can do is you're going to have your plates like wrapped in foil, so no matter what, they're not going to get splattered. So I've got my artichokes nicely glazed. I'm just going to start getting my little plating window ready. So now it's just the point of kind of finalizing seasoning and getting things finished. Okay. We are just about there. So I kind of got everything hot, half off the stove, just so it doesn't cook down too much. And like normally I just do this on the back stove, but I just want you guys to kind of see. Sorry. Blue tape. Just shredding this apart. Nice and hot. Yeah, right? Whew. So you can double layer your gloves if you want. So like in competition, I usually do a pressure cooker because then it gets super tender and it's done a little faster. But knowing that you guys don't have a pressure cooker here, I wanted to show you what's possible. Like that you don't need a pressure cooker to braise 2 chicken thighs in the time. And it just, comes apart pretty nice. And I'm not trying it to be like really small chunks. Just like that. Okay.
then what I'm going to do is any juice left at the bottom, I want to get onto those thighs. There's not much because I put pretty much everything in my sauce. There's a little bit. I don't want to waste any of that flavor. I spent the last hour trying to make this dish delicious, so I don't want to waste anything. Okay, carrots, that. Okay, got my thigh meat. Just keep that warm. So really, my window's open. So a minute ago, somebody would have been like, Chef, your plating window's open. You have 10 minutes. So, and they'll give you time checks. Or you can go, Chef, what's my time? And somebody will come over and tell you, hey, Chef, you've got 11 and a half minutes, or whatever it is. So just so you know, you get 59 seconds for free. So if you go over by 58 seconds, no points deducted. As soon as it hits 1 minute over, you lose 10, I believe it's 10 points automatic, which is a medal. So it's definitely worthwhile to get it done with a couple drips on the plate than to be wiping past that minute. So I never set my timer to include that minute because I want to be done. But I know if I go over 30 seconds, I'm still good. Because really, I just need my chicken to finish cooking. Those are small, they will. My puree is ready. I need my hot plates. Now, one little trick you could do is, I didn't feel like going in my basement and digging through my stuff, but table is cold, it'll suck the heat out of your plates really quick, right? So like, I'm gonna put a towel down. But what you could do is like have a little linen, like a little small tablecloth. I have a teeny tiny one, not one of these huge ones, right? I lay it down. Or some people will put a sheet tray in their oven the whole time. Then they pull it out, put it upside down, and then plate on it so it has that nice radiating heat. But again, you're doing 2 plates. It's probably not necessary. If your plates are nice and hot, you drop it and you plate right away. We don't need all those extra gimmicks. But like when I'm doing multi-courses, I'll actually take ceramic tiles, like flooring tiles, little ones, and I put them in the oven, and then I'll put them on my table, let's say hot for an hour. So then when I put my plate down, I just set a plate on each of those tiles, and I use that for plating up, you know, if I'm doing a lot of touches or whatever. So since I have time, this is where it's like, okay, final seasoning, how did I feel? How's it all taste? I use a bit of salt on that. All right. So, pop in my full buns. Actually, I'm gonna, yeah, I'll just put it in empty. So you can use a thermometer, that's totally fine, you're allowed. Okay. All right, so I feel like we're ready to go. All right, 5.5 minutes. Okay, I'm good. I'm glad I didn't fall on my face today. That would have been really embarrassing. Really embarrassing. I think everything came out good. Yeah, those are hot plates for sure. So then you just got to think about how you want this to be presented, you know, all that good stuff. Oh, this. One thing I like to do is just plate from your pan because it's going to be the hottest versus trying to like move it from the pan to a different little container. You know what I mean? So just think about your presentation, your height. You know, are you showing off these beautiful like little knife cuts you did, or are they hiding underneath something? You know, so just kind of think that through as you're plating. Does everything look nice and tight and organized? We got your little vol-vent. Okay. I got 1:34 seconds, so this is where you take your little wipe guys here. And it's just a napkin rolled up, a little bit of water. Gives you that opportunity just to hit up any little areas. Time. A minute left.